Hello guys, today we are going to learn a lesson on social science, Introduction to History for class 6. Before we start the chapter, let us refer to some new words that we use in this chapter. Number 1. Jesuit. In 1534, Ignatius Loyola established the Society of Jesus in Paris. This is a male religious congregation of the Catholic Church. The members of the Society of Jesus are known as Jesuits. Number 2. Missionary. The religious preachers who are sent to a foreign country to spread the Christian religion are known as missionaries. Indology. The branch of knowledge or science which studies the culture and the history of India is known as Indology. Orientalist. The European scholars who are interested in the history, culture and spirituality of the Eastern countries are known as Orientalists. Let us note. CE means Common Era. BCE means Before Common Era. CE and BCE are used in place of AD and BC. What is history? The systematic presentation of past events is called history. It introduces the journey of human beings. It tells the failures and success of humans in that journey. While explaining the historical incidents, the accuracy of time, place and person is maintained. This means when the incident took place, where and by whom. These would be clear. Without these clarities, history becomes a story. Now, let us know what is the difference between a story and a history. The main difference between history and story is that history refers to the past, whereas story refers to a narrative. In history, we learn that Ashoka ruled Patliputra in 261 BC and fought in the Kalinga War. But in the story, we learn that once upon a time there was a king in a palace who fought a war. Why do we learn history? What happens if you touch the flame of fire? It burns, doesn't it? This is called experience. Will you again touch the fire? No, because you have already experienced the burning sensation, haven't you? We call this as memory, or recollection, and retention. What would have happened if humans did not have memory at all? He would have committed the same mistake again and again. In this case, the progress of human beings is not possible. As human beings need memory to progress, so a society or a nation needs memory to progress. It is inevitable. Then what can be assumed as memory for a society or a nation? That is history. Yes, like memory serves human to survive, history serves as a memory for a society, state, nation, and the whole world. History is the record of good and wrong decisions, joyful and sorrow experiences, and the difficulties faced by our ancestors. Besides, it warns the future decision-making process. The principles, values, and the ideologies of our ancestors in the history will be a model and guiding force for their descendants. Their valor, adventures, patriotism, and sacrifices will inspire the next generations. Moreover, by introducing our culture and heritage, history arouses the feeling of pride and honor for our nation and the world at large. Do we know who is the father of history? It is Herodotus. The people who write history by collecting the sources of history are called historians. Now, let us know why Herodotus is called the father of history. Herodotus of Greece is considered the father of history because he was the first person to record events as accurately and faithfully as possible. And that is why he is called the father of history. India as introduced by Europeans. Indians had the knowledge of history in the form of Puranas and myths from ancient times. But this was different from the European model of constructing history. Among the Europeans who arrived in India in the 16th century were Jesuit priests. They undertook a systematic study to understand the lifestyle of Indians. Henrik Roth, who settled in Agra, translated Sanskrit grammar into Latin language about 350 years ago. A century later, Father Cordock identified that there are many similarities between Sanskrit and European languages. Meanwhile, the British got the revenue rights in Bengal. The British officers tried to understand the history, traditions, customs, values, beliefs, and the laws of Indians to strengthen their trade relationship. Some administrators were attracted towards Indian literature and culture. As a result, Manu Smriti, Bhagavad Gita, and other great literary works were translated into English. Sir William Jones contributed immensely to the study of Indology, which is the study of India. He came to India as a judge of the Supreme Court in Bengal and established the Asiatic Society in 1784 CE at Calcutta, present Kolkata. Sir William Jones, who was multilingual expert, translated the great works like Gita Govinda, Manava Dharmashastra, and Kalidasa Shakuntala from Sanskrit to English. Max Muller was a prominent Orientalist and Indologist. He was a German scholar who wrote an English work, Sacred Book of the East, in 50 volumes. James Hill, a historian from Scotland, wrote History of India in 6 volumes, but these scholars never visited India. Abbe Dubois, a French missionary, arrived and settled in Ganjam, near Srirangapatna. He lived as a sage by adopting the local culture and customs. He was called Dodda Swami by the local people. He wrote Hindu manners, customs, and ceremonies. He has presented Indian customs, values, thoughts, festivals, and Varnashrama system in his work. He lived here for 24 years and returned to France. Apart from these Europeans, there were others like Elphinstone, Coles, Brooke, Cunningham, Eliot, and Dawson. They have introduced the different stages of Indian history. Francis Buchanan, Colonel Wilkes, Mackenzie, B. L. Rice, Fleet, and other European scholars have successfully recorded and preserved inscriptions, manuscript, chronicles, testimonies, and contemporary events for the reconstruction of Indian history. Thus, the Europeans have been successful in introducing a novel way of understanding and constructing history to the Indians. In this way, they have provided Indians a new process of thinking and a new perspective to construct history.